Okay, hold on. I'm not sure if I'm recording in the right place. So I'm going to stop it and okay, so I'm doing it in the right place. With that out of the way, we have a very interesting topic for today. And I think this is one of my most favorite topics. And it is the Tunal. So we're going to um, and learn a little bit more about what the elders say about the Tunal and what it means, what it does. But before we continue, I wanna show you are going to see some elements that we are translating from Nahuatl to Spanish and from Spanish to English. And many of these translations require some interpretation. So if you have any suggestions as to words that better translate the meaning of a word or a practice, please let me know. I will be very glad to receive your feedback. Now, with that out of the way, in the Nahua culture, we have two fundamental elements that keep us alive and well. So these forces keep all of us yultuk. Keep me yultuk. And what is yultuk? It is to be alive and well. So one of these elements is called ihiyu and the other is called tunal. Remember that if throughout this presentation you have any comments or any questions, you can open your microphones and let me know. Okay, so now we're going to talk about ihiyu first. And I think we're going to start that with a question. So let me ask you, what is the first thing that you do when you are born? What is the first thing that you do when you are born? Who can tell me that?
We
You
breathe.
could, or
Yes.
you cry. You cry.
Yes, indeed. You cry, but before you cry, you take a breath, right? That's what babies do. And then they start crying. And what is the last thing a person does when they die?
Breathing again. Last breath.
Yes, they take their last breath indeed. So the act of inhaling and exhaling have to do with ihiyu. So ihiyu is with us from the start to the end. And so ihiyu is your breath. Ihiyu is also your voice. Ihiyu is your particular scent as well. So this is very interesting. Now, something to remember is that in the Nahua culture, you are not your body. In Nahuatl, you are your tunal and your ihiyu. So when you speak about your body, in Nahuatl, of course, you use yaha. So that is he, she, or it, because you think of it as a third person, something, let's say, separate, because what you are is your tunal and your ihiyu. So, for example, when we talk about getting dressed, we would say naha niktalich nu wipil. Literally, I put on it my top, for example, and then that it is your body. Tamashani was also saying us, and he has said that he thinks of it as a glass of water. The water inside the glass represents Yurihiyu and your tunal. And the glass is like your body. So the body is just a wrapping for what you are. And when you die, and now what? The body is the one that dies. And the ihiyu goes away along with your body. If we were to try and compare to the beliefs, the Christian beliefs or the Occidental beliefs, it could be that Ihiyu is similar to what we call the soul. However, we have to remember that they are different concepts because they are different cultures, right? Also, the soul tends to just exist there in your body, and then it is believed that when you die, the soul will be either judged or it will go to heaven. However, Ihiyu is a force in action because it is what gives you voice. It is what allows you to speak. It is your essence. It is your scent, even, but not, let's say, your perfume. No, it is your very particular scent. And if we do not have Ihiyu, we die. Now, we're going to listen to Nancy Sixta and Taxin Renato tell us a little bit about Ihiyu. Same as last time, I have transcribed a little bit of what they said.
Ahora el hijillo es que nosotros también tenemos un olor cuando en cada persona, no olor que nos echamos perfume, no, si es el olor que tenemos nosotros, por ejemplo, del cuerpo hasta la ropa huele, porque queda el olor de nosotros, de nuestro cuerpo, aunque no esté planchado, pero se siente el olor de cada ropa. Bueno, y uno, ahí dice, uno huele aquella ropa, tal vez sabe de quién será esta ropa. Y uno lo huele, si es de la misma familia, es de fulano. Ya hasta el olor de la persona lo conocemos, por eso decimos ihiyu, y nosotros decimos nu ihiyu.
So Nancy Sixta confirms it is your particular scent. And she says that that scent can stay on your clothes. And if you were to smell some of your family members' clothes, you would be able to identify to whom those clothes belong to because the scent lingers. And she says that when you're talking about your own ihiyu, you say nu ihiyu. Now we're going to listen to Taxin Renato.
Y el hijillo es lo que nosotros tenemos dentro, que respiramos, que tenemos más que todo lo que el olor de nosotros, nuestro aliento.
So Taxin says it is your breath. And again, it is your scent. I don't know if you've ever been in a funeral here in El Salvador or if you've been to a graveyard, again, here in the country. People tend to say that Ihiyu is going to stick to you. And that is why you have to take a shower and change your clothes as soon as you make it home. Well, that idea that this ihiyu is going to stick to you comes from the Nahua culture. Because in Nahuatl, they say ihiugisa. And ihiugisa comes from Nahuatl ihiu, which is your breath and your scent and your voice, and the word gisa, which is to leave or to exit. So ihiugisa happens when someone passes away, right? The thing is that in the Nahua culture, it is believed that ihiu leaves your body slowly. And since it has to do with like breath, like air, it can move around. And it is believed that it can stick to you because it moves in the air. So it can stick to you, to your skin, to your clothes, to your hair, and you might even breathe it in. That is why it is believed that it could harm people. And to avoid this harm, the elders recommend that you shower as soon as you make it home after you've been to a funeral or to the graveyard. This is pretty interesting, and in my case, I have always lived here in El Salvador and been to the traditional funerals in towns, and I always heard about ihiu, and people would say, if you go to the graveyard, ihiu is going to stick to you, and we take it as a truth, but not many of us know where ihiu come from. I learned about ihiu until I started studying Nahuatl and the culture. Now, what have you guys heard about ihiu? Do you have any story? Have you heard this phrase before, that ihiu sticks to you?
I haven't heard about ihiu. This is a new idea for me, but I'm learning a lot. I'm so grateful for this course. What I have experienced, though, is I participate in different traditional ceremony and cultural gatherings. And I know that some of the recommendations after you have held ceremony and a sacred space for the community is also to cleanse afterwards so that you don't carry any negative energy that might have been in the room with you when you were gathering. So, for example, some people have different kind of traumas and different situations and, strong negative feelings sometimes that you are unaware of. It's always recommended to cleanse, and you can do that with smoke, you can do that with water, you can, have a bath with certain essential oils. There's different ways, different herbs. But yeah, I suppose it's a similar concept to ihio, when you are supposed to bathe after the funeral.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for that comment. Yes, it sounds pretty similar. Like you have to cleanse yourself. I feel that it's pretty similar. Does anyone else want to share about ihiu? No? Okay, so we're going to continue. Now, something else about ihiu that I find very interesting is that sometimes you are minding your own business and suddenly you feel the smell of someone that you know, or family member or a beloved person, and the person is not near you, but you feel their scent. Or sometimes to other people, they say that they are not anywhere near flowers, and they feel a pleasant smell, smells like flowers. Well, in the Nahua culture, it is believed that when this happens to you, it's because Taxing has passed by you. So what you are smelling, that nice smell, is Taxing breath. Taxing is the Lord of the wind, by the way. So, how about this one? Have you ever had this feeling of smelling flowers when you are not near flowers, or smelling some scent that reminds you to someone? Yeah, well, when you do this, it's because Taxing has let you smell his breath. So this is very interesting, I find. So moving on, remember, if anyone has any comment, you can open your microphones. You are free to speak to let us know about this.
Is Ihu, well, you'll probably go into the Tunal, but is Ihu the expression of the Tunal or it's different?
No, it is different. Ihiyu is one element and the tunal is the other element. Ihiyu and the tunal is what makes your essence, and both of them keep you alive. They are two separate things, but they work together. Does that make sense?
What you're saying does make sense. I'm just taking it in.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. So we are going to move on. If nobody else has any questions or comments. And let me see. We continue now with Tunal, which is the other element, the other force that keeps us alive. And so Tunal is the energy, is your life force. And do you see the hyphen at the beginning of the word tunal and ihiu? Well, we have the hyphen because they are called inalienable. And what this means is that they always have to have a possessive before the word. So you have to say, who does it belong to? So you would say nutunal, my tunal, mutunal, your tunal, itunal, her tunal, and so on. You have to say to whom it belongs to. Now, if you use the word tunal without the possessive, then this word means sun. In a way, you can think about your tunal as a sun you have inside yourself. The sun is that star in our galaxy that allows life to be possible on Earth. Well, mutunal, that is your tunal, does the same thing. It keeps you alive and well. Your tunal can sometimes be diminished. It can also be very strong in some people. But the ideal is that your tunal is well balanced so that you are doing well. If we compare this idea of the tunal to the Occidental or the Christian beliefs, it would be similar to what they call the spirit. Now, your tunal has a lot of functions. First of all, it keeps you alive, but it also keeps your body temperature. If your tunal is well, you are generally happy because it also influences your emotions. If you have a weight tunal that is a strong or a big tunal, you are someone who is courageous and decisive. And here in El Salvador, we say de carácter fuerte. This one is like being strong-willed, being firm in what you do. Some people think that carácter fuerte is also to be a little bit of a dominant personality. Now, not everyone has a weight tunal, and not everyone has to have a weight tunal. That's like a strong tunal or like a big tunal. As long as your tunal is well balanced, then you're going to be well, you're going to be healthy. Let me tell you that in the community, sorry, I was reading a message here in the chat. So in the community, Nancy and Ursula was a person who had a weight tunal. That is a very strong tunal. And that was why mothers in the community were a little bit afraid of her. And this is because it is believed that people with weight tunal, like a very strong tunal, tend to do mal de ojo. That is like the evil eye. Although I do not like this translation much because the mal de ojo doesn't necessarily have to do with evil. In this case, it's just a matter of someone having a strong tunal and babies or children being pretty delicate. So in the case of Nancy and Ursula, in one of the workshops we had, she was present and she was telling us more about Tunal and her story. If you want to watch that, you can look for them in our YouTube channel. I believe they are bilingual. So in that workshop, Nancy and Ursula told us a story about her strong Tunal. When she was young, she used to sell her products at markets and sometimes from home to home. And so one day, when she was selling her products, she met a person who was very sick. And so Nancy and Ursula prayed for her. And later, sometime later, she found out that after her prayer, the lady had felt better. The lady had been healed. Now, on that same day that she prayed for the lady, she continued on her way, and on the street, she saw a little girl. And then she continued on her way. Later on, Nancy and Ursula found out because the mother of that child went to look for her to tell her that after Nancy and Ursula had seen the child, the little girl had gotten very sick. And the people in the community said that Nancy and Ursula had done mal de ojo to the little girl. And this was because Nancy and Ursula had a very strong tunal. Now, as I mentioned, your tunal keeps your body temperature. And it is believed in the community that this is why elderly people tend to feel cold to the touch. And they think this happens because the tunal is not as strong anymore. Because remember that your tunal can be like a little sun you have inside. So when you grow old, sometimes it is not as strong anymore. However, unlike the hue, when you die, the tunal, that life force, lives on. What happens to it? Well, it goes to the world of the tunals. Let me tell you that I find it very interesting that it is called your life force, that the tunal is your energy, because it makes me think of that scientific principle that says that energy is not destroyed. Well, the same thing happens to your tunal. It doesn't fade, it is not destroyed. The elders say that it goes to a place that is like a market. And what they mean by that is that it is a lively place full of other tunals. So when people from the community, when our people die, the tunal lives on and it just goes to the land of the tunals. Now, we're going to listen to Nancy Sixta tell us a little bit about the tunal.
El tunal le decimos nosotros es como nuestro espíritu que tenemos. Y el calor que tenemos en el cuerpo, las fuerzas, todas las energías que nosotros tenemos. Y entonces eso es lo que nosotros llamamos tunal. Y el espíritu está lleno de calor, digamos, y esa es la vida que nosotros podemos caminar y nos sentimos felices. Vaya, cuando estamos enfermos ya sentimos como algo de frío. Y cuando estamos alentaditos, no, es el calor del sol, por eso decimos tunal. Decimos, él es el tunal de cada uno de nosotros, el sol. Es como el río del sol, es de nosotros.
So you see, Nancy Sixta says it is our spirit, it is our energy and our strength. She says your tunal is like sunshine. Now let's listen to Taxin Renato.
El túnel para nosotros es el espíritu que nos mantiene con vida, que nos mantiene calientito, que nos da, que nos tiene con energía.
So Taxin says it's what gives us energy. So here in this chart, we have summary of what we've been talking about. First, we have the EQ summary. Again, it is your breath, your voice, the person's essence, and its scent. It comes from the air. It is called also the breath of life. Its function is to give us breath and oxygen and provides life to our inner being. And this one remains inside your body while you are alive. And once you die, it fades away like the last breath. The elders say that this one is transparent, just like air, just like breath, and that it is in your chest, but that it spreads inside your whole body. And what it does in your daily life is that it makes you breathe, it gives you your unique scent, and it gives you your voice. And the idea is that this one and the tunal have to be well balanced so that you are yultuk, right? That you are alive and well. Now we have the summary chart for the tunal. It is your life force, your body temperature, your strength, your courage. You can see it manifested in your body temperature, in the energy that you have, in your vitality. It keeps you strong, healthy, it keeps you motivated, it gives you a zest for life, it gives you courage, and it makes you dream. And the dreams that I'm talking about here are the ones that you have when you go to sleep. So your tunal is what makes you have those dreams. And why? Because it can leave the body when you are dreaming. So when you are sleeping, your tunal can leave your body. But it can also leave your body when you are very sick. And it can be diminished, like if you are not feeling well, it means your tunal is not as strong as it should be. And after death, your tunal goes back to the world of the tunals. It is also transparent, but it is said, that it is like sunshine. This one keeps you healthy. It provides your body temperature. And once again, if tunal and hiyo are in balance, then you are yultuk. And yultuk, besides meaning being alive, it means that you are well, that you have this sense of fulfillment, that you feel well in yourself. So you see, your tunal can leave your body, right? We just saw that. It can leave your body. And since it can leave your body when you are sleeping or when you are sick, then it could also get lost. According to the beliefs of the community, if you lose your tunal, you die. But you don't die immediately. You get sick first. It is said that you can live without your tunal either for 7 days or 7 months or 7 years. Generally, children tend to be more vulnerable to losing their tunal. And here are the causes why a child might lose their tunal. It happens when they are frightened, when they go to an unfamiliar place, when they fall down, when they hear loud noises, even when they get in a river. When they go to an unfamiliar place, this one is interesting because it has another practice attached to it. And though it is no longer observed as it used to, in some places, some people still do it. So in the past, mostly, to protect children's tunals, mothers or parents used to cut branches from trees when they went places. They did this particularly on the way back home. So they would take a branch, and when they go to an intersection of two streets, they used to put branches on the streets that they were not going to take. And this was to help the children's tunal to follow the way, and so it didn't get lost. With the branch, they also helped guide the tunal as they walked. What they did was they were calling the child's name, and that also helped to guide the child's tunal back home. Now, if you see, many the children's tunal live pretty much for anything. But this happens because children and babies, well, they are very young, right? They haven't been in this earth long, they haven't lived much. And so the Tunal hasn't have enough time to get used to that body. Because remember, in our culture, your body is just like a wrapping. It's like that glass in the example we had at the beginning. So the tunal and the hiu is the water, and the glass is just your body. So in children, the tunal hasn't get used to that body, almost like the connection is not yet as strong as it needs to be for the tunal not to run away from that body when something bad happens or when something shocking happens. But also, it is not just children that can lose the tunal. Also, grown people can lose the tunal. Why? Well, this happens when they get frightened, when they receive bad or shocking news. Basically, when your nervous system is in distress. Sometimes a grown person can lose their tunal because they are way too angry, because they are in shock, because they are stressed. So these things can also make you lose your tunal. Now, the fact that tunals can leave your body is not a bad thing. If you remember, that's part of their natural behavior. And so, yes, sometimes it is bad, but it is only bad when you lose it. But it is natural for Tunal to leave the body sometimes. And so that is the explanation that the Nawa culture have for dreams. Because every night when you go to sleep, your body stays sleeping, but your Tunal stays away, and it likes to go out and see places and people. And when it is out of your body, it doesn't have the same limitations as a body has, because it can go wherever it wants, or rather, it can go wherever you want. Because remember that in Nahuatl, you are not your body, you are your hiyu and your tunal. And so that is why when you lose it, you call your name, because the name you have is the name of your tunal. And so, for example, in my case, Alicia is not my body. Alicia is my tunal, my essence, what is inside my body. Since your tunal loves to go out and explore, it sees a lot of things, even things that will happen sometimes later in the future. Your tunal, when it's out and about, can see people that are far away, but it can also see people that have passed away. In the community, they say as well that your dreams are messages. So they say if you dream of cattle, of cows, it means you have to be careful because there's an enemy trying to harm you. They say that if you dream with a snake, it means someone is gossiping about you. If you dream with turbulent waters, dirty or dark water, it means illness or something bad is coming your way. But if you dream with calm water, with clear water, or serene water, then that is a good omen. So the images we remember of our dreams when we wake up is the way that our Tunal is trying to communicate with us. And that's why we remember certain things. But also, this is why you have that feeling of deja vu sometimes, right? When you feel like you've already been someplace, like you've already done something, but you say, I've never been here, I've never done that. Why do I feel like I have already done this? Well, in the Nawa culture, it means that your tunal has already been there on its own as you slept, or that it saw what was going to happen. And so that's why you have that deja vu feeling. So you see, your tunal, as you sleep, is a lot freer from the constraints of the body. And that is why you sometimes can have these vivid dreams where someone you love have come and visit you, even if they have passed away. Because remember, Tunals live on. They just go to the land of Tunals. And so that is why you are able to meet them as you dream, because your Tunal can go to the land of Tunals, and those Tunals can come to you. Also, this can happen that your Tunal goes somewhere far, because say if during the day you have been missing someone who is very far away from you, and you have not been able to see them, to hear them, to hug them, and you are missing them, then at night it is possible that your Tunal knows this, and it goes and seeks that person, and you can meet with that person in your dreams in the land of the Tunals. And when you wake up, you think, oh, I dreamt of so and so. But what those dreams mean is that you have actually met with them, but in your tonal form only. We're going to be talking a little bit more about the lands of the tonals, next week when we have our workshop on the Axis Mundis. So be sure to not miss it. Now here we have a chart with a few celebrations or special days from different parts of the world that also believe, as we believe in the Nahua culture, that there is a day where the souls or spirits or tunals can come back to the land of the living and visit us. Here in El Salvador, we have the Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, usually on November 1st or 2nd. And traditionally, people have canchules. Not everywhere, by the way. It is only in very few towns that people have canchules. And canchules, what they are offerings that you have for the people that have passed away. And usually those offerings consist of the favorite food or beverages of those beloved people that passed away. There's also flowers and candles and food, and sometimes people throw petals on the walkways. And if you see over there in the chart, there are a lot of places that have similar celebrations. We have this one, Hanal Pixan, or the Maya people, and they believe that the souls come back home to share a meal. There are other places here that around the same time they believe that the souls can come and visit the living. Something that I find very interesting in this chart is that most of them are actual celebrations, but the the Christian one, they believe that the souls need help because they are in purgatory, and so they need help through prayers. And I'm not saying this to put Christianity in a bad light, but it is very interesting that it is pretty much the only one that has this belief that souls are in an unpleasant place. But for the indigenous people, this day is indeed a celebration of their lives. It is a time for connection where it is believed that your family members and loved ones can come back to visit you, and they come and they enjoy. So I found that very, very interesting. Once again, guys, if you have any comments, any questions, you can open your microphones and let me know.
I just think it's interesting when you're sick and someone says, "You don't seem like yourself today." That kind of reminds me of what kind of the idea of the Tunal.
Mm, yeah, that's actually very interesting, and I think you'll see in a moment that it it is actually related to your Tunal. Um, because as we have in your screen right now, you can lose it, right? Your Tunal, it can get lost. And as I mentioned before, your body might live for a time, but without your Tunal, you will eventually die. But before that happens, you get sick and you have other symptoms. And so when you have lost your Tunal, what happens is that the person is always cold. Now, for this one, I have something that I want you guys to note, and it is that here in El Salvador, and actually, as we saw in another workshop, the Nahua people like to be close to water, close to the coast. And what that means is that they chose warm places. And here in El Salvador, if you've been, it is very hot, right? We only have the seasons, summer and the rainy season, but even in the rainy season, it gets hot. We have usually the sun is always shining, so it is very remarkable when someone feels cold to the touch here in El Salvador, right? Because it is usually pretty hot. So that's a symptom of a lack of tunal. The person is always cold. Now, another symptom is that the person cannot dream. Also, that they are always sad, they are feeling depressed, they lose their appetite, they feel tired all the time, they feel exhausted, they feel weak, they feel anxious all the time. They have this feeling of preoccupation. Their immune system gets weak, so they get sick a lot. And so if you have any of these symptoms, It might mean that you have lost your tunal. But if you can lose it, and if losing it means that you might die, can you do anything about it? Well, yes, I have good news because yes, there are things that you can do if you have lost your tunal. You can heal by recalling your tunal. Remember that at the beginning of the workshop, I mentioned that your tunal can get diminished, like it is not as bright as it is supposed to be. And I think this ties up with what Charles was saying, that when people say you don't look like yourself today, because sometimes your tunal is a little bit faded, is a little bit diminished. But the good news is that you can reanimate it. And so when you are feeling blue, when you are feeling with low energy, or anxious, or preoccupied, maybe weak or unmotivated, it might be a sign that your tunal is just diminished. And to reanimate it, the elders say that you tap the palm of your hands. You tap your wrists. You tap the inside of your elbows. You tap it a few times. And they say that you also massage your earlobes. And while you are tapping your hands, your wrists, your elbows, you call your tunal. And I have a little story for you here. I remember that my grandma used to do this to me. I used to be a very sickly child and maybe even a little depressed. And so when she saw me like that, she would call me to her and she would caress my hair. She would tap my hands and my wrist and she would massage them too. And she would say, Alicia, my child, come back. Come back, my child. Alicia, Alicia, come here. She sometimes added other things to this ritual, but we'll see that in a moment. So anyway, I remember that as a kid, I didn't understand why my grandma kept calling my name. And in my mind, I used to think, but abuela, I am here. I am here and I haven't gone anywhere. But now I know that she was calling my tunal. She was trying to reanimate my tunal. So it is really nice to know that we have this ritual to recall your tunal or to reanimate your tunal. And you know, something that I find incredibly interesting is that these practices are done with children if they fall, or if they are sick, or if they are frightened. And you see, you have to massage, you have to caress, you have to speak to them, to call their name. You have to be close to do these things. And I have heard that modern psychology says that connection is incredibly important for humans, for children, for everyone. And these rituals are that connection. And also, if you have practiced meditation, doesn't it sound familiar? So maybe even if you do this one to reanimate your tunal by yourself on your own, unlike how we do it with children, it is also a way to connect with your own body, to go back to yourself. And so this is what elders recommend to do if you want to feel motivated, energized, calm. You can do this as many times as you want and as many times as you need. Now, if you guys try to do this one, I would like you to let us know what you felt, if it helped you at all. If you have this done to you, like in my case, that my grandma used to do this. Have you had this done to you? Anyone?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, but maybe
But
you
it
can
sounds
try it.
really it sounds really nice though. I love the idea of the physical touch and connection.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is very, very nice. And it definitely leaves really sweet memories. Like in my case, this is a very sweet memory I have with my grandma. And again, you guys can try it and let us know what happens. Now, we continue. We are now in the main one, the recalling of your Tunal or someone else's Tunal, because you can do this to someone else. And this one needs some ingredients. You need, first of all, someone to help you. So for this one, you need someone else. So you see that these practices bring about connection, bring about community. Something else that you need is this siete espíritus, literally 7 spirits, but it is a mixture of alcohol and herbs. They sell these siete espíritus in drugstores here in El Salvador. And I think there are places online that also sell it. However, I was Googling it and I saw in one place they sold one of these and it was like 400 and something dollars. And it was a very small vial. And here in El Salvador, these ones cost less than $5. So if you want to have them, I would recommend to ask a family member that lives here or a friend that lives here to send it to you because online it can be kind of expensive. Also, this mixture, there are like different blends. They have different ingredients. And there is a kind that it is just to put on your skin, to apply on your skin, not to ingest. And there is another one that you can drink. If you try it, make sure to only drink the kind that is safe to ingest. Now, here I have a little disclaimer. This is not medical advice that I'm giving you. Please be careful with what you use and from whom you buy these ingredients. Also, I guess I'm making this disclaimer because I believe that if you cannot find it, if you cannot get it already prepared, you could probably make Siete Espíritus by yourself. And I think this because my grandma, again, she's from Panchimalco, by the way. Well, she has taught me to make some mixtures for pain mainly that her parents taught her, and they have a similar composition, like they are a mix of plants macerated in rubbing alcohol. So I will give you the ingredients for the 7 spirits. So you need rubbing alcohol, anise extract, clove extract, aloe vera extract, rosemary extract, balsam extract. We have a scientific name here. It says Myroxylon balsamum. In the WhatsApp, I can write it for you later. So you also need valerian extract, mint essential oil, lemon essential oil, orange blossom essential oil, and some blends have what they call agua florida. Agua florida is another mix of extracts and essential oils. Now, other formulas have mint, bergamot, orange blossom, rose, grapes, strawberries, and yet other mixes have valerian, rosemary, orange blossom, cinnamon, and rhubarb. So, now, once you have your siete espíritus, your mixture of alcohol and herbs, you need a hierba del susto. Literally, that would be the fried herb. And guys, I've been looking for the scientific name of this plant. And let me tell you, it is very difficult to find an accurate name. With Tamashtiani and with Valerie, we were commenting that it is really, really difficult to find information on native plants from our country and on native animals from our country as well. And this is what happened with this plant. I am not entirely sure of the scientific name because some people say that it is Clinopodium arkansanum, commonly known as limestone calamint. And other people say that hierba del susto is Justicia cartaginensis. So I cannot really tell you which one is it, because here in the country they just call it hierba del susto. One of our classmates was very kind to send us this picture because we didn't even have pictures. And when you Google it and you write hierba del susto on your search bar, it shows you something else. And so this classmate, he has it on his yard. So he's very fortunate. And he sent us this picture. Something else that you need is your shirt, and optional, you can have some incense for smudging. Let me see. I see we have some comments in the chat. It says the name is confusing because they used to ship it out of Peru. Yeah, that happens with the scientific names sometimes. I saw that the scientific name of hierba del susto de Justicia cartaginensis, apparently it was found in Colombia, but we know it is also native to El Salvador. So we continue now. How are we going to recall our Tunal? First of all, it is recommended that you do this one at night because this ritual will make you feel sleepy and relaxed. This one needs a little bit of time as well because you have to prepare your ingredients. And the one that you have to prepare first, or that you can prepare first, is your mixture of water and hierba del susto. And how you do this? Well, what you do is that in a pot with water, you put your hierba del susto and you boil it, right? You let it simmer for a few minutes. And then once it is done, you take it to your shower. You add more water so that it is on a temperature that won't burn you. And well, something else that I want to let you know or to remind you is that here in El Salvador, we do not have bathtubs. And in many places, we do not have running water every day. And in the past, you had to go to the river to get water to take a shower. So in most homes, we have what we call a pila. And a pila is a cement structure. It is like a water cistern um, that is like not in the ground but on top. It's a water container basically that is open at the top. And that pila, we use it to collect water and we shower near that pila and we use a huacal, a bowl or a container with which we pour that water on our head. So this bath or this shower that you're gonna have with hierba del susto is done in a similar fashion. You pour this mixture you have prepared on your body using a bowl or a container. You have to be completely naked. And I say this because, once again, sometimes uh, our water containers here in El Salvador are most of the times in the backyard. So sometimes people keep their clothes to keep modesty, right? So for this one, you have to be fully naked and you should not use soap or shampoo, just your mixture of water and hierba del susto. Now, once you are done with that, you dry off and you get dressed. You put on your clothes, your pajamas, but you do not put on your shirt. Here comes the person that will help you. You give it to that person, that shirt. And if you are going to be using incense, then you use it at this point of the ritual. So you have your incense, you have the person that is helping you. The person that is helping has your shirt, and what they do is that they go with your shirt around your property, pretty much dragging your shirt behind them. Now, if they cannot go outside for whatever reason, it is okay if they just go around inside the house. And as this person is going around the place with your shirt, they have to be calling you, Tunal, by your name. So if someone was helping me with this ritual, they would say something like, Alicia, come back. Alicia, come here. Alicia, return home. And so, why are they doing this? Because when you are recalling a Tunal, you call it by your name because your Tunal has this name as well. Something important is that when you call your Tunal, you call it with gentleness and love. See why I say that these rituals from the community, from our ancestors, bring connection. And so after the person is done going around the property, what you do is that you rub the 7 spirits on your body, particularly on your palms, on your wrists, inside of your elbows, on the back of your neck, and you put some at the top of your head. The elders, and my grandma as well, used to do the following. And let me tell you, my brother and I used to really dislike it. So what the abuelas do is that they put some of the 7 spirits in their mouth. They don't swallow it. They just put it in their mouth. And with their mouth, they put it on top of your head. Of course, they are careful not to get it in your eyes. But you do not have to do this. You do not have to do it this way. It is enough if you just put it on top of your head. Once this is done, you put on your shirt. And the idea is that your tunal heard it was being called and it attached to the shirt. And when you put it on, it returns to your body. That's why you have to go to sleep with that shirt. And in the past, and still nowadays, sometimes, people used to sleep on hammocks. And so the incense used to be put under the hammock. Nowadays, they also put it under the bed. But please remember to be careful with incense under your bed. Make sure nothing can get burned. Now, this is the complete ritual to call your tunal or someone else's tunal. But if you suspect that you have lost your tunal and you do not have any of the ingredients, you are too far away to get hierba del susto or siete espíritus, then you could also do an abbreviated form. In the gatherings we have in Santo Domingo de Guzman on December, sometimes the elders perform an abbreviated form. And they do this without the plants, without the bathing, basically just calling it. Because the tunal responds to the ihiu. That is, it responds to the voice. It knows its name, and when you recall it, it comes back to you. If you want, you can find some more videos about the recalling of the tunal. And also, I believe there's some of them about curing the evil eye on our YouTube channel. Once again, same with the ritual to reanimate your tunal. Recalling your tunal can be done as many times as necessary. Now, it is your turn, guys. I have done speaking and now it is your turn to speak. What do you think about this workshop? Do you have any comments or questions, or have you heard about these practices? What do you think?
So one question, for doing the
Mhm.
ritual, like if you're doing it for a parent or grandparent, do you say dad, mom, or do you say their name?
You say their name. Your tunal has to hear their name. So if I were to call my mom's Tunal, I would say her name, Lilian. Lilian, come here, come back. So yes, their name. Mhm.
I would just say I've heard before sometimes that other cultures in Mesoamerica do kind of have a concept of life energy coming from a sort of balance between like the the sun and the earth, or like between warm and cold. That's like not identical, but a little bit similar to the concept of yin and yang, where it's like the energy or the animating force of the universe or life is that balance between those two opposite forces. And I would say this kind of reminds me, like the Ihiu and the Tunal is, it seems like kind of that balance between those two forces.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that comment. Yeah, it definitely sounds similar. And remember, they have to be balanced so that we stay yultuk, so that we stay alive and well. Thank you. Anyone else?
So the ritual kind of reminds me, I know in Christianity they say to anoint each other when they're sick, and that sort of just seems like a similar practice in a way.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. That's true. And sometimes in some churches, I've seen that they actually use the oil, right? They put it on top of your head, similar as we do with the Siete Spiritus. So yeah, you're right.
So if you're in the United States, and I
Mm-hmm.
know here in Denver they have some um more like they're more Mexican businesses that have herbs and medicines and stuff like that. Is there something similar that has that same product? Is it sort of the same in Mesoamerica, or is that recipe you gave us unique to El Salvador?
That's a good question. Um, as far as I know, uh, this is pretty unique. However, we could find out more together because actually I don't know if in the other countries in Mesoamerica they also have Siete Espíritus or hierba del susto, although hierba del susto, I believe they also have in other places of Mesoamerica and they use it as well. But Siete Spiritus, I couldn't tell you if they have it or something similar.
I don't know if it's the same, but I know that they, in the Mexica, it's tonali. This um, is the equivalent of tunal, and
I
then
see.
ihiot is like ihiu.
I see that's very interesting. And yeah, most likely, all of the remember that we studied that the Nahua people used to come from the south of what today is the United States all the way to Nicaragua. So probably all of those indigenous people might have similar understandings of the life forces that live inside us. I see a comment here. So it says, so the Tunal recognizes the name, but if the person doesn't identify with that name or just directly hate it, in that case, does it matter? The Tunal still. This is very interesting. I like this question. Um, I I wouldn't know if the Tunal still comes back if the person really doesn't identify with their own name. I think this is a good question to bring to the elders on our tutoring session on Friday. In fact, I'm going to write it down because I really, really, really like this question. So thank you, Sarai. Anyone else?
Are there any other times of the year, like Dia de Muertos,
Mhm.
where there's it's believed that the spirit connection is thinner or more available? I was just curious.
As far as I know, in the Nahua culture, only on Dia de Muertos, Day of the Dead, the souls, the tunals, can come back. And another way to communicate with tunals is to when you dream. Because when you dream, your tunal leaves your body and it moves around and it can go to the land of the tunals and meet other tunals, whether those people are alive or if they have passed away. So uh, it's my understanding that in the Nahua culture, those are the two ways that tunals can meet and communicate. Here we have another comment. Gabriela says, I'm curious too, especially for trans and non-binary people who changed their name. Yeah, I thought about that too. As soon as I read the first question, I thought this makes a lot of sense for trans and non-binary people. So yes, I'm very interested in bringing this question to the elders on Friday. So I hope all of you are there to hear what they have to say about this. So I think we are almost ending this class. And so if nobody else has any comments or questions, I'm just going to remind you to please support our fundraising because it is a way to give back to our elders. Our elders are the guardians of not only the language, but the culture, and all of this knowledge is coming from them. So I think supporting this fundraising for the gathering is a good way to give back. If you cannot donate any amount, that's okay too. But please help us sharing our post and letting family, friends know about this fundraising. And if there's no more questions or comments, that's it for today.
It's a good use of it's a good use of your tunal.
Yes, yes, definitely. Thank you, Charles. Listen to Charles.
I just want to real quickly echo what Charles said too. Like, while it's not sufficient, a lot of tribes in the United States get a certain amount of funding through the government or through like casinos and stuff. And the community in Huitzipan does not get any of that sort of support.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that this program is using to do this celebration for the elders is relatively very small. So if anybody can contribute or share it, it goes a long way.
Yes, yes. Definitely, Zach. Listen to Zach as well. Yes, thank you for your words. This is true. The community, the elders in the community really need our help. Many of them, they live in poverty. So, as Zach says, it goes a long way. So, any more comments? Okay, so that's
Pariush
it.
for the
Oh,
lesson.
yes.
Pariush for the
Okay.
lesson.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So Yektayua, Nyawa,
Nyawa.
Shawa.